What's up? What's happening, folks? Welcome back to the channel Sports, Life, and Politics TV. I'm Samuel Koppel, YouTube's #1 couch detective, and I'm here for the news. And today's episode, I'm going to be going over several different news clips that's going on nationally, and maybe even a couple internationally. The first one I'm going to be going over is this parade of Bacchus. Now, we have a lot of different feasts and festivals and things that we celebrate that we have no business celebrating. And sometimes we celebrate these things unbeknownst of the foundations and the beginnings and what these holidays actually represent, where they come from and what they mean. Now, for those of you who don't know, Bacchus is an ancient deity, a pagan god from Greece, better known as Dionysus, aka Bacchus. And his father was Jupiter, his mother was Persephone, aka Ceres. And Bacchus is the god of wine and pleasure, revelry, and sex. And we celebrate these holidays not knowing that they still have the same meaning and the same essence of yesteryear. That's why these holidays are still celebrated in the United States today, and they're kept alive at all costs. And I went over another video talking about Pan, how all these gods are connected and they're all one and the same. The names change throughout societies, different empires, but it's be the same gods, be the same celebrations. Pan, and it was known as Pan in Greece, and in Rome he was known as Faunus. They take on these different names, but everything still remains the same. Now you'll see on some of these major holidays now, some of these major day parades, people die now. Is it a sacrifice? Some people say no. I say hell yes. And these be blood sacrifices for these ancient gods, believe it or not. Now let's take a look at the parade of Bacchus. See what happened.
Tonight at approximately 9:30 p.m. at the 1600 block of Turkish Store, officers responded to shots fired in the area. We had officers quickly respond. They were able to make one apprehension. We found 2 guns on scene. But with those shots being fired, there were 5 victims. There was 3 males and 2 females. 4 of them were adults. 1 of them was a juvenile. The juvenile is in stable condition and is at UMC. With the help of our partners, we were quickly able to apprehend the subject that we believe to be responsible for this. And we had the sheriff's office, we have the Department of Corrections out here, as well as state troopers and our own officers. So with the quick apprehensions that they made, they were able to keep the rest of the public safe. With that said, this is really not something we wanted to see.
Let me say this, even if you look at the star on their chest with the circle around it, that's part of Freemasonry. The badge that these officers have. Look, I'm not saying all officers are be involved, but there a lot of times these high-ranking officials and law enforcement are part of these, what people will call secret societies, Freemasonry. They might have went to a major college where they were part of Skull and Bones, fraternities, all this type of shit, man. This shit is real, and it's something that we have to pay attention to, most definitely.
This will be a safe Mardi Gras, and we continue to work towards that end. However, we really want the public's help, and if there were other individuals involved, please call Crime Stoppers at 822-1111. With that said, I'll open it to some questions.
Is there any dangers to the public right now? Do you think that's going?
I think we work towards keeping the public safe, and I think we did a good job so far throughout Mardi Gras. Even during this tragic incident, they were able to respond quickly and work cooperatively. So that was really good response for us. So yes, we hope it will be a safer Mardi Gras with them here as well.
You said that the juvenile is in stable condition at UMC. What about the other people?
We have, yes, there's one person in critical condition right now that we know of, and we hope to find some news about that person, but the others are in stable condition.
Do you believe this was the only shooter, or are you unsure?
That's why we're going to keep investigating. It's under investigation, so I can't say, and I will give you an accurate answer right now.
Can you tell us how?
Well, if you can't give an accurate answer on if that was the only shooter, how can you say the public is safe? I don't know. I mean, I guess they have to kind of lie to people. They don't want to try to scare the shit out of people, but it's impossible if there's more shooters to say that, oh yeah, everything's safe and everything's going to be perfectly fine. The way he answered the question, he kind of lightweight beat. He kind of like, maneuvered around the question. He didn't answer it directly, but yeah, you never know.
Exactly what was saying. We don't know what happened prior to that, but we did hear gunshots, and officers responded, as well as the other agencies, very quickly, and were able to find 2 weapons on scene and also apprehend what we believe to be a shooter. But whether he's the sole shooter or not, we will determine through investigation.
How many weapons did you find?
2.
Pistols?
Yes.
Can you speak to how fast the response was from the LPD once shots were fired and reported?
Very quickly, not just from us, but the other agencies, from the St. Charles and Turkish Shore, about maybe a third of the block, he was in there with apprehended person, so very quickly.
Could you tell us how many agencies were involved? I know we have a lot of agencies from outside the jurisdiction of the Martin Rodriguez this involved.
Yeah, and I said before, we had our officers, NOPD, we had the...
I'm gonna go back out. Let's look at some of the. They had some of the floats that they use, and they see the Bacchus float, and he's drinking wine and he's having a blast. Like I said, it's for wine and pleasure and ecstasy, and it's basically this ancient festival that if you're a man of God or you believe in the book, you have no business celebrating. But look, the book, the Bible ain't for everybody, so it really doesn't matter if everybody's not into it. A lot of times when things aren't for you, you'll find shit to tell you that this shit ain't for you, so you'll be able to find it, and God will put it in your face where you can't deny it. Flat out can't deny it. But let's take a look at what one of these freeze. This is Mr. Freeze. I wanted the Bacchus, but look, up in the back in the corner on the purple, they have the Bacchus right there. At the top, purple circle, that's the Bacchus. And as you can see, he's having a blast. He's drinking. He got wine and all the shit. Nothing new. Like the Bible says, nothing's new under the sun.
Mr. Freeze, see, he was one of the DC comic characters.
I remember Mr. Freeze,
I do remember him. First appeared in Batman #1.
But, it is what it is. We're going to move on to the next story. How police tracked down accused gunman charged in Temple shooting. A young man shot a police officer. Let's take a look at the video and see what we can find out. And play a little bit of couch detective and see if we can find some clues to why some of these young people are doing some of these things.
Action News reporter Sharifa Jackson live outside police headquarters with the very latest on the 18-year-old suspect who was arrested in Bucks County this morning. Sharifa.
Yeah, Jillian, it took about 12 hours for authorities to make this arrest. We're told that U.S. Marshals, they surrounded the Bucks County home of this 18-year-old suspect, Miles Pfeffer, and they took him into custody without incident. These were the moments in Buckingham Township when accused murderer Miles Pfeffer was taken away by U.S. Marshals this morning. Authorities say the 18-year-old deliberately and fatally...
And as you can see, this young man, he seems, to me, from the outside looking in, it would seem he has a demonic spirit on him. He's going to have his day in court to whether he's guilty or innocent, but a lot of these young men are coming out of these homes. I'm telling y'all. That's why I make all these videos where I say witchcraft is the fastest growing religion in America. There's a lot of people who's into Satanism, Luciferianism, and all these different philosophies or new age religions and shit. And these people have no godly spirit in them. So they have no empathy for human beings. They can kill indiscriminately. I will guarantee you this is not the first time he's harmed. So a lot of these young men like this, they start out torturing small animals, harming little brothers, sisters, cousins, nieces, nephews. You know what I mean? Somebody smaller than them, weaker than them, and then they work their way up. And before you know it, you got a soulless demon running the streets.
Shot at Temple University officer Christopher Fitzgerald after a short pursuit and struggle on North 18th Street near Temple University's campus. According to court records obtained by Action News, Officer Fitzgerald was initially responding to reports of a robbery when he first encountered Pfeffer.
All right, all units available, please clear Ball Street. We got a report all sit down your route to Temple.
After the shooting, authorities say Pfeffer stood over the officer and shot him several more times in the head while he lay.
I mean, to stand over somebody and shoot him several more times in the head, that's some deep-seated, rooted anger, or it was personal. I have no idea. I would imagine it was something else deep-seated. But, I mean, was it personal? It seems, I mean, when you shoot an officer, you would think you're shooting him to get away. You know what I mean? You scared. I mean, you thought that maybe I can get away, or maybe, I don't know. But it's just odd to stand over somebody and shoot him several more times in the head. That's some real anger. That's demonic. I mean, he blew his brains out all over the streets. And it looked like he had a peaceful arrest. I'm surprised they didn't kick his ass. But he looks completely unscarred, uninjured. He doesn't have any marks. Some people might say, well, shit, he's white. But sometimes they don't care about that shit. When you shoot a cop at that point blank range, you got an ass whooping at the very least coming. Or maybe his ass whooping came a little later after the official pictures. I don't know, but even before then, officers like to see you and like to have the picture of the person beat up to send a message out to other people who think about harming officers.
On the ground before he unsuccessfully attempted to rob Officer Fitzgerald of his service weapon and went through his pockets. He spoke to you.
Oh my God! So he shot him in the head several times. Then he ran his pockets. This is. This is a little demonic motherfucker, right? This is a Children of the Corn. This is really Malachi. This is Malachi in the flesh from Children of the Corn. He shot him in the head. First he shot him, stood over him, shot him in the head several times, and then ran his pockets? How much money could an officer possibly have on him? That's why I say this shit seems personal. And the crazy part about this, a lot of times in these court cases, this shit won't go to trial for 3 to 5 years, y'all. It'll be 3 years for this shit go to trial, maybe even 4, sometime 5. So you don't get a lot of the answers. What was going on in his home? What is his parents into? I mean, how did their son become so goddamn demonic?
It's Marshal Robert Clark, who was there when Pfeffer was caught. He says Pfeffer was apprehended using Officer Fitzgerald's handcuffs.
That's a tradition that we do anytime there's a fallen officer.
Documents take us through just how they were able to track Pfeffer down using the help of surveillance and other video. Shortly after the fatal shooting, video appears to show Pfeffer carjacking someone. That stolen car was found dumped at North 30th Street and Sedgley Avenue before he would make his way almost an hour away to Bucks County. Sources tell us the suspect told investigators he melted the gun he used in the crime. Chopper 6 was above as officers sifted through this fire pit. Action News is also told authorities recovered several weapons from the property. And we're also learning that Pfeffer was accompanied by 2 other people when this incident first began, but so far no word on who those other individuals were. Now, Pfeffer, he's facing a long list of charges, including murder of a law enforcement officer, as well as other weapon charges. He's being held without bail. We're live from Philadelphia Police Headquarters, Sharifa Jackson. For Action News at 10 on PHL 17.
Well, like I always say in these type of cases, I would love to see his social media. I would love to see what his belief system was. I would love to see who he's in communication with. You never get that shit, though. Never, ever, ever. All right, we got the next case. 24 hours since L.A. Bishop murdered. Hunted for killer intensified. If they don't know who it is, it could be killer or killers. We don't know. But, that's an assumption. But I guess when you don't know, you have to make an assumption. But they say this bishop been part of the Catholic Church in L.A., I think, for over 40 years. Now, we know the Roman Catholic Church has had an inordinate amount of problems when it comes to pedophilia. I'm not saying he was involved in that directly. but sometimes you're guilty by association. He might have been a good man and a man of the book, but Roman Catholicism, by its own nature, is a pagan religion. No disrespect to people who are Catholic, but that's just a fact. You know, Emperor Constantine took Roman paganism, and he also took Christianity, early Christianity, the original Christianity, and he merged the two together. So what you get out of Roman Catholicism is everything that the Bible is against. You're not supposed to worship wood and stone. You're not supposed to worship men. They got everything that you're not supposed to worship Mary and the Son, a baby Jesus. You're not supposed to worship none of that. So in the Roman Catholic Church, they worshiping all of that. By no means am I saying this man deserved that or he deserved to die in any way, shape, or form. But I do want to make preference and let it be known about the Roman Catholic Church, about its history, both in ancient times and in present times. Let's take a look.
An outpouring of grief tonight as parishioners mourn a beloved Catholic bishop who was murdered. Investigators now working to track down his killer.
And as you can see, even the color scheme of red, black, and white is Luciferian. If you Google black mass and you look at the Devil's Church, that's the same colors they wear. Let's take a look again.
An outpouring of grief tonight as parishioners mourn a beloved Catholic bishop who was murdered.
Yeah, all these color schemes, none of this stuff is by happenstance. None of this stuff is on accident. All of this stuff is on purpose. And it's not new. Yeah, it's not new at all. The Roman Catholic Church has been boy lovers since fucking the beginning of the Roman Catholic Church. Since 300 AD. And you go all the way back into Rome before Jesus, we know what they was. They had a lot of boy lovers. So, nothing new.
Investigators now working to track down his killer. I'm Joy Rand.
I'm Michelle Fisher. This is Eyewitness News at 11. Eyewitness News reporter Leanne Suter is live at his home in Hacienda Heights, where mourners have been paying their respects all day. Leanne?
More than 24 hours after deputies were called to the home here, the crime scene has been cleared. You now can see a small memorial of candles sits in front of the bishop's home. Prayers continue into the night at the crime scene as the Catholic community mourns the loss of Bishop David O'Connell.
He brought life when it came.
You know what's crazy about that staff? And that hat that they wear, that's from the ancient god Dogon, the fish god. That staff, what I just talked about, Bacchus, that's a staff. Bacchus had the same kind of staff with a grapevine wrapped around the staff. He carried the same staff. A lot of stuff that goes on in the Roman Catholic Church is steeped and is deep in paganism, and that's a fact.
You know, he was a good guy, and he was always talking about, he always joked. He was a joking guy. He was pleasant to listen to. We would want to come back to see him again.
Known for his sense of humor and deep commitment to his faith, O'Connell's parishioners say his murder is a deep loss for all.
And I want to know that this bishop speak out against all the pedophilia that was going on in the church, or was he quiet? See, those type of things are important. Before I just say, yeah, he's a good guy, and was he staunchly against pedophilia? Did he fight for the rights? Did he testify against some of his friends that he knew? Because if you've been in the Roman Catholic Church for 45 years as a bishop, then you came across these people. You guys were in some of the same schools together. You guys when you went to Rome and you met these guys. So there's no way he couldn't have met or been around any of these people. 100% he was. Before you get to saying these people are good people, we know what the Roman Catholic Church has been and what it still is.
Of LA.
He came and changed our lives. He was very supportive, always working for the good of people.
He's just a beautiful human being. It's just hard to believe anybody would even consider hurting him in any way. The sheriff's department now says the 69-year-old's death.
And we don't know why somebody would hurt him outside of his home. That's personal. They didn't say it was a robbery. They didn't say it was a break-in. They didn't say anything was stolen. I watched like 3 or 4 different news clips, and I haven't heard robbery or anything was stolen. So whoever shot him, this was personal. And we don't know what he's done or haven't done. I'm not saying he's guilty. I don't want to, but We know the history of these churches. We've seen these cases so many times. We don't know. It might be his past coming back to hunt him. Only God knows. But if it is, we know where he's at now.
Is a homicide. He was found shot to death inside a Hacienda Heights home Saturday afternoon. Detectives have not released any information on a potential suspect or a possible motive for the murder.
He had a wonderful sense of humor and a beautiful devotion to Mary, our Blessed Mother. We all will miss him very much.
LA Archbishop Jose Gomez expressing his shock and sadness during Sunday Mass. O'Connell had been a priest in LA for 45 years. He was known as a peacemaker who had a passion for serving those in need.
He definitely helped our community and us personally. And he gave everything he had for our parishioners everywhere in LA.
Yes, still so many questions involving this case. Again, at this point, no description or anything on a possible suspect. Detectives have only said that there is no threat to the community. Live in Hacienda Heights,
That sounds batshit crazy. How if you don't have any leads, you don't know who did it, you don't know why they did it, and you saying there's no threat to the community, how could you? This could be a serial killer. It could be the beginning of a serial killer. This could be a serial killer's fourth kill. You don't fucking know. You can't say that the neighborhood is safe if you don't have anybody in custody, somebody who you think or you almost can guarantee you know who did it. That sounds crazy, man. But I want to say fair use, using these videos for educational purposes only in a transformative way. But fair use. But nah, how the hell do you know that everybody's safe? That shit boggles my mind when they say that shit. Man just got killed inside his home and the neighborhood is safe. They didn't say it was a break-in. They didn't say it was a robbery. Was it a crime of passion? Was it a gay lover? Was it a kid who grew up who came back for justice? I don't know. LA police probably know. They might have a lead, but you can't say a motherfucker safe till you have somebody in custody. There's no doubt about that. Let's take a look at this. U.S. officials worried China could provide weapons to Russia. The only reason I laugh at that because the United States is supplying a bunch of weapons to the Ukraine. So it sounds like eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth. It sounds like what you've done is going to be done to you. Let's take a look.
Well, President Biden spent the weekend in Washington where new diplomatic challenges with Russia and China are of mounting concern. CBS's Skylar Henry is at the White House with more details. Skylar?
Hey, Jerika, good to see you. Well, China is the focal point. One day after a meeting between Secretary of State Antony Blinken and China's top diplomat, Secretary Blinken warning that sending that surveillance balloon over the United States violates international law and must never happen again. This at a time when there are growing concerns between Beijing and their ties with Moscow. Secretary of State Antony Blinken was firm talking about balloon blow-up.
It doesn't matter.
And I did do a video covering this shot down balloon, much to do about nothing. United States know China has balloons. China's been sending up these balloons since 2018 and maybe even earlier than that. And I proved in the video that the United States been knew you're not getting that shit past NORAD, our air defense systems. There's no way. We got too many satellites that's fixed in on Russia. You just don't have satellites circling the globe. When you have major threats and major superpowers, these satellites actually orbit the Earth as the Earth orbits with these countries. So it's fixed satellites on these countries that watch everything that goes into the sky. So yeah, this whole thing is some kind of ruse for whatever reason because they're dealing with China and China's dealing with Russia, and Russia is at war with the Ukraine.
In the sense that China is responsible for this action, and ultimately, as the leader of the country, President Xi is responsible.
He met with China's top diplomat Saturday in Munich, stressing the importance of a direct line of communication between the two sides, though the already strained relationship with Beijing may be widening. Today, the country's foreign ministry issued a statement announcing if the U.S. continues to fuss over and escalate an isolated incident, it should not expect the Chinese side to flinch.
No one, of course, wants a Cold War, but that isn't the issue. What we want is a China that is not going to be an aggressor state, that's not going to be building up its military and threatening the United States.
That man said he wanted a China that's not going to be building up his military. You got to be out your goddamn mind. When you ask for things, you got to ask for shit that's realistic and reasonable. You can't be asking for no shit that's fucking ridiculous. That's ridiculous. That's like asking Shaquille O'Neal not to dunk the basketball. Ah, damn. You got to ask for something realistic, man. Can Shaq shoot 60% from the free throw line? You can't say you want Shaq to shoot 100%. You got to have realistic goals and expectations. When they start asking for this type of shit, that's how I know it's a bunch of bullshit going on. Because you're asking for things that's not even reasonable and realistic. Come on, man. Not to build up their military. Why wouldn't they do that? That's nuts.
U.S. officials are concerned that Chinese state-owned companies could soon provide Russia with lethal military assistance, including weapons and ammunition for its war against Ukraine.
And to the Chinese, if you jump on the Putin train now, you're dumber than dirt. It would be like buying a ticket on the Titanic after you saw the movie. Don't do this.
China claims it's working on a peace proposal to...
He just told the Chinese they dumber than dirt. The Chinese ain't listen to one word none of these people over here have to say when it comes to their dealings, their building up to their military and them giving weapons to Russia. They don't give a damn about what he has to say.
End the conflict, but that's contrary to U.S. intelligence. Now, the president is headed to Poland tomorrow, marking 1 year since the Russia-Ukraine war began. Officials say at this time there are no plans for Mr. Biden to head into Ukraine. Jerika.
Skylar Henry tonight at the White House. Thank you.
But like I said before, y'all, some of these things are just ridiculous over there. Just happens the United States asking China shit that's just not even realistic. I mean, could you imagine somebody asking the United States not to to stop building up their military? It just sounds so far-fetched, man. What's next? You're going to ask a bird not to fly. Ah, damn. Let's take a look at this. South Carolina mom shot dead in front of her children in a grocery store parking lot. Let's take a look.
Live now from Fox, we want to continue to update you on stories that are making headlines. A South Carolina woman was shot and killed in a grocery store parking lot after an altercation with a stranger on Valentine's Day. Tyler Boyd.
And if the argument in the parking lot was over this young lady's hair, I can see how it escalated. I don't know what the fuck she got going on, but if you said anything wrong, she probably flew off the handles. It looked like she went to the Texas State Fair, spray painted some cotton candy, and put it on top of her head. Unbelievable.
Boris said his wife, 26-year-old Alexandria Boris, was loading groceries into her car at the Kroger in Irmo, South Carolina, when she got into an argument with a woman she didn't know, according to Fox 57 Columbia. After the argument was over, the stranger, later identified by Irmo police as 23-year-old Christina Harrison, allegedly pulled out a gun and shot Boris in the back.
So the argument... See, this is why, this is where my Negro spidey senses start tingling. My tinfoil Negro koofy cap, I got to grab that because goddamn me, an argument ain't escalated to where one woman shoots another woman in the back because the lady wasn't even looking at the lady. Yeah, something ain't right. Something ain't right.
Couple's children, a 2-year-old and an infant, were in the car when she was shot. The Irmo Police Department said the incident took place around 4 p.m. on Tuesday. Officers arrived to the scene shortly after and pronounced Boris dead. After talking with witnesses and viewing surveillance footage,
these two people don't look like they have no business next to each other. And I'm not saying that because they black and white. This lady looks like a wife and a mother, and this other lady, I don't know what she got going on, but it ain't a lot. But for her to get into an argument and the argument escalate to where you want to shoot a person, I mean, the shit that somebody would have to say from one woman to another woman for a woman to make her pull out a gun and shoot her at point blank range with an infant in the car and a 2-year-old in the car. It couldn't have been that serious. That's why I say my senses are tingling. Something else is rotten in Denmark. I smell a fish.
Irmo police said investigators learned the two women did not know each other and were involved in a verbal altercation before the shooting. It's unclear what led up to the argument or what the two women were arguing about. Harrison initially fled from...
Hopefully it wasn't hairstyles. Yeah, the black girl was never going to win.
The parking lot, but called to turn herself in around 5:30. Later that day, she was booked into the Lexington County Detention Center Tuesday night. Jail records show Harrison is charged with murder, unlawfully carrying a pistol, and possession of a weapon during a violent crime. The New York Post reported Harrison was scheduled to appear in court on Wednesday, but her private attorney waived the hearing. Tyler said his wife...
She has a private attorney? This nigga here. That nigga on that ad had a private attorney. Did that motherfucker... See, I'm telling... Look, this is why I'm YouTube's #1 couch detective. What the fuck is she doing with a private attorney? Something ain't right. Let me hear it again.
The New York Post reported Harrison was scheduled to appear in court on Wednesday, but her private attorney waived the hearing. Tyler said his wife's death comes just only 6 days after her younger brother, Brandon, died from a gunshot wound. He told...
Wait up. Are you kidding me? Now, at first I was tingling. Now my whole damn body's on fire. But goddamn me, her brother just got shot too. Get the fuck out of here. This bitch got a private attorney when she came in afford a perm? Not Big Cotton Candy. You lying to me, you saying Cotton Candy got a private attorney.
Hearing, Tyler said his wife's death comes just only 6 days after her younger brother, Brandon, died from a gunshot wound. He told local news outlets that Alexandria, who worked as a cosmetologist and was enrolled in nursing school, was the best wife you could ever ask for there. So
now I'm suspicious of the husband. Look, I don't know. I could be wrong. I'm a little suspicious of the husband, but I know one goddamn thing. This wasn't no coincidence, and this didn't have nothing to do with no argument. You got Black Cotton Candy over here with a private attorney. You have a 26-year-old mama too, dead in the grocery store parking lot. Brother, exactly 6 days ago, numerology matters, died of what? A gunshot wound. Look, sometimes there's coincidences. And sometimes some shit is really conspired. This sounds like some shit that's conspired. And the dead giveaway was Black Cotton Candy had a private attorney. Unbelievable. This is Sports Life and Politics TV. I'm Samuel Koppel, YouTube's #1 couch detective. I appreciate you guys tuning in. Hit that like. Hit that subscribe. I just took your ass on an international, national cotton candy ride. Peace.